John Carroll in Nairobi says this sugar deal is just political. It seems both the opposition and Jubilee politicians have been benefiting on a personal level. Shame on them. Can they please cut the drama and start working to benefit farmers and the Kenyan Mwananchi? And Nixon Dugire, Kindaruma, the sugar saga is just but politics. There has been trade between Kenya and Uganda before. Why noise when it comes to sugar? Keep talking to us on 22422 on Twitter using the hashtag The Big Question. Adan Duale, National Assembly Majority Leader, thank you so much for making time for The Big Question. And ODM Chairman, John Mbadi, thank you so much for coming tonight. I'll start with you, Duale, from the Jubilee Coalition. And my question tonight, are there concerns over the Uganda sugar deal, or is it just politics? From the Jubilee Coalition, already you're saying what Cody is talking about is just politics. Why?
It's politics because we, the Jubilee Coalition, have a plan to restructure and to revive the sugar sector. For example, Mumias Sugar Company. Since Jubilee came to power, 1.8 billion shillings have been injected. Since Jubilee came to power, the National Assembly has passed the 4 billion right issue. We have waived the 1 billion debt of Kenya Power and Lighting. We have agreed to give the Mumias Sugar Company the tax holiday of Kenya Revenue Authority. Okay? And we have even asked the 1 billion that was given by the president to pay the sugarcane farmers. So we have a roadmap in terms of reviving the sugar sector and also Mumias. When it comes to the Uganda sugar deal, first and foremost, Uganda is a member of the East African Community. 2, Uganda is a member of COMESA. Uganda has a trade engagement with Kenya, which is in favor of Kenya. 770 billion for Kenya, 15 billion Uganda sells to us. Uganda discussed with us, like any other country, that we do bilateral business, the various trade barriers, non-trade barriers tariffs. But now when we come back to, that is the facts and figures as provided for by the Jubilee administration. We are not running away, those are the facts. Let's come to the propaganda our colleagues have been peddling. One, they said the deputy president was the minister for agriculture. He led to the collapse of the sugar sector. Far from the truth. Today, I'm sure the media got the Gazette notice of May 2008, where William Ruto, then the Minister for Agriculture, they registered 16 major cartel sugar importing and exporting companies. It was William Ruto who raised the price of cane from 2,500 when he became the minister to 3,800 by the time he was sacked. And one of the reasons why William Ruto was sacked, and Kenyans must know, was because he dealt with the cartels in the Gazette notice. So what we are saying is this: we have a plan as a Jubilee. Before we reach 2017, our colleagues want to play politics and propaganda with the lives of the 6 million sugarcane farmers in Western Kenya.
Let me get a response from you.
First of all, I want to take the discussion away from individuals and look at the issues before us. Article 129 of the Constitution is very clear about the executive authority, which the president exercised in Uganda if he signed the sugar deal. First, that article says that the executive authority is exercised for the benefit of the people and must be done following the principle of service to the people of Kenya and for their benefit thereof. Article 35 of the Constitution talks about access to information, and it says that any citizen of the country, of this country, is entitled to access to any information held by the government. And that same Article 35, Section 3, is very clear that the state has an obligation to publish and publicize any information, any important information which affects the nation. What the opposition code is saying in a nutshell is the president of this republic went to Uganda with a delegation and entered into some agreement with the government of Uganda with regards to sugar industry. As the people of Kenya who have an interest in the sugar industry because it affects the economy not only of the region but of the entire country. Western Kenya, Western Province, Nyanza Province, sections of Rift Valley, more particularly Kilgoris, and the Lamu, Kwale at the coast, depend on sugar industry heavily. And therefore we are asking the government, forget about the politics of who signed what, who disregistered cartels, who owes what, and who is doing what. Tell us exactly what is in this deal. Because we have a right in the Constitution as the people of Kenya to know what is contained in the bill. Is that asking too much? I don't think so.
You stand accused for that, Honorable Duale, that the government has not been very clear on what exactly happened in Uganda.
Hussein, let me take you back. Since we came to power, since the Jubilee administration came to power, the president has gone to more than 15 countries. And heads of state and governments have come to this country, including President Obama, in which the executive, under the powers given to them by the Constitution, signed various bilateral treaties. The president went to Angola, to Algeria, to Uganda. The Chinese premier was here. He went to Ethiopia. And in all those engagements, not even the president, our foreign minister, our ministers signed various bilateral agreements. And in all these, both the private and the public sector are involved. Certain bilateral agreements, and my colleague will confirm to me, must come for ratification to the National Assembly. All those many bilateral agreements that the Jubilee administration have signed on behalf of the people of Kenya, nobody has raised an issue. The issue about Uganda, or visit to Uganda, and I think in Uganda, a communique was issued. I was part and parcel of the delegation. A communique was issued. Serious trade barriers were issued. But more fundamentally, today, Hussein, if you drive to Kisumu, if you go to the supermarket, you'll find Uganda sugar. The question of the day is not whether we export sugar from Uganda, from Tanzania, from Brazil. The question of the day, number one, is that Kenya has a deficit. As we speak today,
that is when we're coming to that.
No. As we speak, so I'm saying, the issue is not the Uganda deal. The issue is the politics of the Western voting bloc. And now that it has come out very openly, today we have said, fine, this is what the Jubilee government has done. A report is being discussed in Parliament either tomorrow or the day after, to discuss the people behind the collapse and the destruction of the sugar.
I'm coming to that, Honorable Duale. I'm coming to that and whether it's politics about Western bloc and the votes. But the specific question he's asking, and many people are actually asking, is would it have been different or done better for this country if there was clarity on this matter? Do you think the government has failed in as far as information is concerned?
No, Hussein. Your own media house, Royal Media, was in all the functions that we attended in Kampala.
Yes.
The communique which was issued, and the top of the communique was the Loima Isiolo Garissa crude oil pipeline, among many other issues. You just showed in the news.
Right.
But the discussion on the many products between Uganda and Kenya that was discussed between the private sector and the public sector, which is government of the two countries, was on the trade barriers and the possibility that if Uganda has an excess sugar, in the long run, we will create even a joint board of the sugar companies that will regulate that. So the question is not about whether Uganda can export. Uganda we export 70 billion from Uganda. They export to us 15 billion. So that is not the question. The question, and this must come out very clearly, is the sugarcane farmers in Western Province, very critical to the people of Western Kenya. It is like the way it is, the way Kenya Meat Commission is critical to the pastoral community, the way tea and coffee is critical, the way maize is to North Rift.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted just to say that the fact that the government has signed some bilateral agreements with other countries, and we have not asked for those agreements to be made public, does not stop us from demanding for any agreement to be made public. It is important. And I want to remind Honorable Duale that as members of parliament from the sugar growing areas, we have a duty. I am one. By the way, for your information, there is a sugar factory even in Homa Bay. And actually, even some of my constituents grow sugar.
Okay.
So I am one of those MPs who come from the sugar belt. And I will tell you for a fact that we have an interest. We want to know this so-called agreement. Because again, where you are not helping yourself as government, and I want to advise you for free, the president was very categorical and said in the presence of the court leader that he would rather import sugar from Uganda. And no one is saying we cannot do business with Uganda.
Absolutely.
What we are saying, we want to get to know the content and the details of this deal.
Good.
Once we get to know it, we will be able to give input. I want to give you an example of the input I would give, for example. One of them would be, if we feel, and that is also contestable, that we can import sugar from Uganda, that we have a shortage that can be filled by sugar from Uganda, I would advise the government that we get to sugar growing areas because they have an economy dependent on sugar. We get those farmers, group them together, let them raise capital to import the sugar from Uganda, that which will only fill the shortfall. But if you don't want to engage, if you don't want to make this information public,
let's move this forward.
Yes.
No, let me answer that. Let me answer that.
You agree to what he's saying, that it is important to give public that information,
to the people of Kenya.
Let me tell you, and Mheshimiwa Bandi was with me last parliament. When government wants to import, if Kenya government decides to import sugar, the shortfall from Uganda, the law is very, very clear. The regulations are very, very clear as they exist today. The Kenya Sugar Board will make it public in the daily papers that we have a shortage of 1,000, 2,000, 200,000 shortage. We are asking Kenyans who can apply, who have the following qualifications to apply from Uganda. Right. So once we get to that level, once the joint board of the two countries is formed, then those details are there. It's in law, and nobody.
You said
the question
well and good, but
for the sake of this, we have to.
Hussein,
we have to
but
move
just
this forward.
one minute. Well and good. What Duale is saying, Honorable Duale, my friend, is saying is very good. If the two are going to form joint board and etc.,
yes,
why don't you make these details public?
It's in the communique.
We are asking you as the people of Kenya who are entitled to the information held by government.
Okay, this is the reason.
That is provided for in the communique, which is a public domain.
This is the reason why Honorable Mbadi, CORD and ODM is being accused of playing politics. You're saying you haven't got the details yet about this. You want the government to give the details to Kenyans, not only to CORD but to Kenyans about what transpired.
Yes.
But you already are saying that, first of all, Kenya is self-sufficient as we speak, that there are enough, we have enough sugar in our stores. The Kenya Sugar Board has denied that. The government is saying that is not the case. You are already saying that this deal is meant to kill the Kenyan sugarcane farmer, yet you don't have the details. Why?
First of all, I want to tell you this. The information coming from government at this point in time cannot be just taken at face value, because the government is accused here. The government is talking about, those figures are not adding up. I will give you an example. The government is talking of our consumption at 860,000 metric tons, which probably is correct.
Right.
Uganda, they are giving the consumption at 320,000 metric tons. I want to just to look at very simple arithmetic. Uganda and Kenya, we come from the same region, we are the same third world country, the two countries, and more importantly, even our lifestyle is almost similar. And therefore the sugar consumption should more or less be similar. But then, if Kenya, with a population of about 40 million, is consuming 860,000. Uganda, with a population of 30 million, is consuming 320. Kenya per capita consumption of sugar per year is over 20 kilograms per person. For Uganda, it is less than 10 kilograms. Does it make sense? So someone is not telling them the truth, and that is why. That's why I'm saying all this talk. Let me just finish, and I'll give you a state the majority lead.
Yes.
I know you're used to speaking more than the rest in Parliament. Could you speak? But now the point is this. The point is, yes, I know the standing order provide. Those are some of the benefits you enjoy.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, a lot of this information is contestable now. We want the government to come out clearly, give us this deal. We debate it. We engage with it as a country. And then if we realize that the government has not done anything wrong, then there is no problem.
So would it then be prudent? Would it then be prudent for the sake of the Monanche, the sugarcane farmer, because now both CORD and Jubilee are being accused of personalizing this issue? Let me just finish. Would it then be prudent for you to ask the government, or give them time, or actually give a deadline if you can, whatever, to ask for the information to be published instead of making allegations that border on just politicking?
Actually, to answer your question...
Hussein, let me make it very clear this.
Do I answer you, or
I didn't just answer.
The point is this: we have been very clear that we want that information. We have asked the government severally, not once, not twice. We have asked since this issue became public. And by the way, it's CORD which made it public first. We made it public, and we demanded for information. That was the first.
Hussein, let me make it very clear.
The government.
Hussein, you know, I can tell you, that's why I told you the CORD coalition thrives on rumors and propaganda. The figures that the media has. Let me start with Uganda. It's from the Ugandan Association of Manufacturers. And is a body, and they can be accounted for 148,000 surplus. Kenya, a day we consume 1,500 metric tons of sugar a day. It's not something Jubilee has manufactured. It has been there in last government, where the CORD coalition were in charge. But the point that I'm trying to make is that our colleagues don't want to. They want to put it out of, use it for propaganda. Is that if we have a shortage, and Uganda might be 30 million population, you might be 40. You look at all the indicators, the fuel consumption between Kenya and Uganda. Look at the grain consumption. The figures are there. Kenya is a huge economy. It's 3 times. You can even tell from the budget, our own budget. If you compare the budget of Kenya, 2.1 trillion, and compare it with the budget, combined with the budget of Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania, is still lower. So the consumption are figures from reputable organizations. Kenya has a shortfall of 200,000 metric tons.
That is from the government.
The question is, where do we get? And the president was very right. We were getting sugar from Sudan, from Brazil, from Malawi, from Zimbabwe. Today, Ugandan sugar is found in supermarkets in Western Kenya. So it's pure politics.
But at the end of the day, the information is also needed from the government. But
information is clear. Hussein, the communique is there. You gave it out, your own media houses.
The communique, like you say, Honorable talks about issues that
Honorable Badi can stand on the floor of the House and ask a question. The Minister for National Treasury, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, will come to Parliament, will provide. But they have taken this thing out in the politics.
The communique, like you said yourself,
so we will deal with
issues of the trade ties and the products. You said were discussed. What are the communique? You said that yourself, and they came in later. That is what people want to be made public. But let me ask you this question. You talked about the issue of Western Kenya and the Western Kenya vote. Why is this an issue?
Western Kenya vote to the CORD coalition is a serious issue. It's like the way Rift Valley Central is to the Jubilee coalition. I mean, in political parties, in competitive politics, every party or coalition that wants to ascend to power must first protect its original voting regions and then go and convince other regions that didn't vote. This happens in the US, between the blues and the greens, between the Republicans. So the restructuring and the revival of the sugar sector is enduring the voters in Western Kenya to the Jubilee coalition. The 1 billion the president gave, the 1.8 billion that was spent, the waiver, the whole roadmap that the president and the Jubilee administration has given. This will change the lifestyle of the 6 million sugarcane farmers. What will that have an impact? Kenya is changing from rhetorics, politics of rhetorics, politics of propaganda.
And so you think that is where...
No, the 2017 general election, the battlefield will be between those who speak and those who deliver on their promises.
And so you think...
And Jubilee, the next election, we want to campaign on the platform of development.
Okay, let me
That's why we are called Kusama la Kutenda.
Actually, if it is a question of rhetoric, I think it's more from the government. This is a government of propaganda and PR and a lot of talk about projects that you don't even see. Actually, this is the government. Sorry to digress. This is the government that even promised Standard 1 people's laptop 3 years down the road. It's still not there. But that is not the topic of discussion today. I have no problem anybody going for votes anywhere, because really any political party is there to look for votes and to win power. So that can happen. But I don't know whether looking for votes is what took the president to Uganda. Because the question we've been asking is with regards to Uganda deal. I want to also add that sugar is not just grown. Sugarcane is not only grown in Western Province. Sugarcane is grown in Nyanza Province. By the way, it is not just Mumias that is milling sugar.
The biggest.
We have 11 sugar milling.
It's the biggest.
So what is saying about
so we have Mumias, we have Butali, we have Western Kenya, we have Nzoia, we have Muhoroni, we have Chemelil, we have Soni. There is one coming up in
What is saying about the Western Bloc to you doesn't hold any
for me, I don't think that holds any water.
80% of the sugarcane farmers in the country live in the Western sugar belt. That is
I was very quiet when could you help me? You have to help me. Otherwise, Dwayne would run me out of this place. Now, you see, the point is this issue of Western Kenya is used as a propaganda by Jubilee to divert attention. We are asking a very fundamental question. You went to Uganda. You signed some deal.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us the content, the details of this deal,
we want to wind
and how useful is it to the people of Kenya?
Your coalition, you're going to Western at the end of this week, isn't it?
Yes. We are not just going to Western. By the way, we are going...
But what message are you taking there?
The message we are taking is we are engaging the farmers who are affected directly. We are going to Awendo, which is the Shoni sugar.
What will be the message?
We will we're going answering.
Yeah,
okay,
we will be going to Busia, we'll be going to Bungoma, we'll be going to Kakamega, we will even going to Narok on Sunday, and we are planning to go to Kwale. What we are saying is we are going to tell the people of Kenya to demand, to help us demand, because we have to agitate. The opposition has no police to arrest the executive to provide the information. We are telling the people of Kenya, please, we are speaking to our executive, the presidency, and the government, to provide this information, and we are telling them the challenge and the risk that they face as farmers in the event that the government is going to enter into a deal that would affect the economy.
Okay, we have to wind it up now.
Now, as they go to Western Kenya, they only have one message. They can do the politics. The report before Parliament names who is who in the core and the ODM party who participated in the destruction of Mumia Sugar Company. Their own party leader and companies associated with him are alleged to have money or owed money to creditors who are mainly the sugarcane farmers. So we are telling as Jubilee, as you go and talk to the farmers,
I'll have the right.
As you go and talk to the farmers and tell them, help us to ask government to produce the legal agreement, we are asking them to also either take the check that your party leader and the many of the top leadership in CORD and ODM, all those poor farmers who cannot take their children to school, who cannot access medical health care, so that, or you either give them the payment plan. And Mohammed Hussein, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that the die is cast.
Okay.
The next election will be between those who talk and talk, and those who deliver on the promises they make to the people of Kenya.
Listening to Duale, you'd think you are listening to an opposition MP. Duale is in government. If there is anyone in CORD who brought down Mumias and got involved in some fraudulent activities, who brought Mumias down, I would advise Duale not to wait for the Agriculture Committee.
Okay.
What we need to do is for Duale, let me just finish because my time is up. Duale to talk to the President and the entire executive to engage the law enforcement agencies to arrest that person.
And that question actually is asked.
But finally, he spoke about Raila going to Western to pay. First of all, I want to say that I'm not sure whether Raila owes money to Mumias. But what I've heard them talk about is molasses. If it is molasses, which is the company, what the information I have, and which has not been contested, is that any dealings between molasses and Mumias was based on guaranteed loan. And that if you guarantee loan, and I think you know this, that if you don't pay, then the bank pays.
I want to ask a question as we wind up. Adeka in Nairobi says, please, could you get both sides of our leadership, ask them actually, why no legal action has been taken against those they are alleging to be culpable, sugar cartels and all that, from the government and also the opposition. Why is it that the opposition is talking about it now?
Let me answer.
At the end of the day, because you're running out of time, Honorable Duale, you'll answer that as we wind up. At the end of the day, don't we all agree, and many have said, a lot of Kenyans actually texting and saying that there's a lot of politics and politicking shrouding all this problem, and that if CORD are asking for this to be made public, it should be made public, but CORD should also tone down on the politics, and so should Jubilee, and this should not be personalized.
Hussein, let me take the first shot. Hussein, the institutions that deal with the enforcement are independent institutions. Ethics and Anti-Corruption, the Inspector General of Police, the DPP, Parliament in its oversight role. All these institutions are working around the clock, and those individuals who are mainly in CORD and ODM and their accomplices, they will be, let me tell you, they will face the full force of the law. For us, in our statement today, it's about facts and figures. We have a social contract with the people of Kenya. We have a roadmap to deliver on the restructuring of the sugar sector of the people of Western Kenya. And 80% of the sugar cane farmers in our country, in fact 90%, they live along the sugar belt. Bungoma, Busia, and Kakamega. We have no politics. We have no politics. We have been given the mandate by the people of Kenya. We want to deliver, and come 2017, we want to win the next election on a platform of development.
I just wanted to say that if we have just been engaged in politics, I think that would not be right. And I think we need to just face facts, because this is about the livelihood of a good number of Kenyans. Over 6 million is not a small population. Duale is saying that the law enforcement agencies are independent is not accurate. The president has the CID and all that. The president can ask for prosecution of those individuals who are culpable. But what I want to...
Tomorrow you say we are coming for the opposition.
Let me wind up. You see, whether one is in the opposition or in government, if one is culpable, he is culpable. Let everyone carry their own cross. But you see the problem with the government, Hussein, this Jubilee administration, anytime you criticize them, then they shift blame to the opposition. When we talked about insecurity, they said it was the opposition that was responsible for Mpeketoni. In fact, they were very candid that Raila was responsible for Mpeketoni. As we speak today, now they are confirming this. I think at that time, as I conclude, I think
chairman should ask the party leader to go and say the
truth is, please take responsibility. You are now in government. Raila is not in government.
Please tell him to
can you govern this country properly? Instead of shifting blames to Raila. Raila is a private Kenyan who is leading the opposition.
And we hope,
as you go to Western Kenya,
gentlemen, thank you very much. Honorable Adan Duale and Honorable John Mbadi, thank you for coming to the big question tonight. We're asking tonight, are there real concerns over the Uganda sugar deal? Or is it just politics? We hope from now on there will be soberness, or people will be sober, politicians will be sober in handling this matter after all, and at the end of the day, it's about the Mwananchi. Keep talking to us on 22422 on Twitter using the hashtag. The Big Question will be back after this break.